Hello, everybody, and welcome to another DevCamp session. My name is Jorge, and today I want to talk to you about Bluetooth with Meadow. So as you're all aware, Meadow comes with an ESP32 coprocessor, which enables it to have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity right out the gate. And this is especially useful in case you have devices out in the field that don't account for a Wi-Fi connectivity or wireless network. So this is perfect for just to take out your tablet or your phone, and using Bluetooth, you can just connect to any device and just sync whatever data it has in store, or you can just control anything or just check the status of the device, etc., which makes it super helpful, especially again if there is no network connectivity around. And so right now it has these available features. You can use a definable BLE definition tree. This is super handy. Think of it as creating a manifest or a convention where you have a set of fields of data types that you're gonna define between Meadow and its device to exchange data back and forth. Um, by activating Bluetooth with Meadow, it automatically goes into a server, like a Bluetooth server. So it'll be able to accept client connections, which means if you have a phone or a tablet, these will be acting as clients, sending requests to the Meadow BLE server, and and Meadow will accept these requests to do things like changing values, which is like our next point there: edit values at runtime. And based on the values that you're changing while the app is running, you can do value change notifications. So based on the values that you're changing onto your device, you can trigger these and take actions depending on what values you are changing. So for this presentation, we are going to work with a MAUI companion app that is already available on the Project Lab Samples GitHub repo. It comes already available for connecting to your Project Lab via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. In this case, we're going to go with Bluetooth. And the intention is to show you how to get or set data with its onboard sensors and displays. So let's just jump into it. I'm just going to show you first the demo in action, and then we'll dive into the code to give you a glimpse of how it's working. So what we have here is we have a Project Lab V2, and notice it has its onboard LED turning green, and the Bluetooth icon here on the display is blinking, indicating us that it's ready to accept client connections. So let me turn on my phone. Let's open the MAUI Project Lab companion app. Let's select here Bluetooth. And once it navigates into this page, it's gonna immediately look for Meadow devices. In this case, it found the Project Lab indicated right there on the dropdown. So if I tap on the Bluetooth icon here, right there, now it's paired. So you can see here on the Project Lab is saying that the status is paired now. And also notice how all the readings of the sensors that Project Lab has on board, it's already giving me all the readings available on my companion app. So it has the light sensor, the motion sensor, and the environmental sensor. Now this app is designed written that it's going to read its sensors every 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds, the values, they might change. So at any time, you can press the read sensor buttons on any of these, and you can see that the values are going to change. And that's a perfect example of getting data from Meadow, getting data from the sensors. But you can also do set data. So in this case, we can set data. In this example is just making the onboard LED on the Meadow to do certain actions like blinking, or we can do pulsing as well in random colors, or we can also make it turn off and turn it back on again. There's a button here. There we go. And that's pretty much it of what I wanted to show you and in terms of the sample itself. Now let's dive into VS Code, Visual Studio, and I'll show you how it's built. So if we go here, we have the solution, and notice we have 3 projects here. So we have a shared project. Let's open the Bluetooth folder here for a second, and we have a set of constants here. These are called characteristics constants. Think of it as GUIDs for each value or each field that you want to, of data that you want to send back and forth. So if you remember the application, it had a pairing button. It had some commands to set data for the LED to make it toggle. We have environmental data to get information, get reading from the atmospheric sensor, the light sensor, and the motion sensor down here. And so for the Meadow side of things, if we go to the Bluetooth server, which I think this is the most interesting part in this demo, notice that we are defining characteristics here that will help us to build the tree definition that we talked about. So we have defined here the BLE tree definition. So in the initialize method, we're doing the get definition. So if we go here real quick, notice here we're going through each characteristic for the LEDs and all the sensors, and we're creating objects for these depending on what data type they belong to. So for LEDs, we're turning them actions to turn them on and off, or changing them to make it blink or pulse. So these can easily just be Booleans in this case, which is what we have here. As for the environmental and all the other sensors, these are characteristics of type strings. And these are permissions for read. Notice that the other ones are write as well, read and write, so we can manipulate them, which is intended. But in the case of sensors, we're just getting data. We're just getting the readings of these sensors. So once you instantiate each characteristic, you create what is called a service object that you pass in all the characteristics, passing also the ID of the device. That's how your phone or your companion app will detect it. And then finally, you can put whatever name you want to name your tree definition. In this case, it's called Project Lab. And ultimately, that's what you return. You return your tree definition. And the next step will be to actually start the Bluetooth server. So that's what it's happening here. We have the start Bluetooth server API from Meadow Core. We pass in the BLE tree definition that I mentioned before. And notice we also have the value change notification. So these are the value set events that are going to be triggered. And we're setting them for the LEDs because from the phone, we're going to set values to them. So every time these values change, we're going to establish, or we're going to do an action to control the LED to make it toggle, start and blinking, start pulsing, things like that. And for reading, we need to always constantly be updating these values, at least of how this sample is written. So every 15 seconds, if we go to the main controller here, you'll see that there is an infinite while loop. And every 15 seconds, we are going to do a reading for each sensor. And then we do a set environmental characteristic value, passing the latest reading, the same for the light sensor, and finally for the motion sensor. So that is the way of how these values are constantly being updated, and the motion, the MAUI application will get these values every time they press on the read sensor buttons. So going back here, I want to show you that all these samples this sample, and we have many others, are available in the Meadow Project Lab samples. So be sure to check that out so you can familiarize yourself with Project Lab and all its capabilities. You can, check the weather. You can do drawings, or like make a gallery viewer, things like that. And ultimately, you can also head over to our developer website and for Wilderness Lab, developer.wildernesslab.co. And we have a section for Bluetooth. So in case you want to read it more into detail of how things are, how do they work with Meadow, and it'll also give you some more details about how to create those BLE tree definitions and a little bit more terminology of how Bluetooth works altogether. So that's it, what I wanted to show you, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.